Yeah, I do the drugs, I don't give a fuck what you think. I got blood, I got mud, I got bud, I got drink.
Hey guys, Scythe here. Today I'm just gonna do a very basic, simple, um, tutorial, I guess, of just some base level edits for your Mugen characters. I'm gonna be using Ichigo Fullbringer by Salah. Um, awesome creator. I'll link the YouTube in the description. Um, But yeah, this is in no way is my character. I'm just showing you how to edit. So you're gonna want for any character, whatever the character's name is, you're gonna want to find the CNS file. Boom, boom, boom. I had to make sure I was recording. That would have really irritated me. Fucking open it up using Notepad. And you can ignore these var, the variables. Just forget about them. Data right here. Basic stuff, life, obviously increase, decrease, play around with it, see how you like it. Power, that's gonna be like your power bars. You can increase that. A lot. I've noticed a lot of like kind of more OP characters will have like 5 or 6,000, and 3,000 means the 3 bars. It's pretty straightforward. Just play around with it. Sometimes I'll do like a good 5,000 for a more OP character I'm creating. Attack and defense. Now, I don't 100% understand these. Obviously, they are what they are, attack and defense, but each individual move, each punch, each special, each super, etc., has its own damage coded into it. So I guess maybe like the attack might just kind of like, there might be some equation somewhere that tells it, to increase the damage per move based on this. I really don't know, but I never increased these way too much. Maybe just like, I don't know, 20 tops. But yeah, that's just basic stuff. The rest of this, you could decrease the lie down time if you wanted. They'd stand up a little faster, I guess. Air juggle, now that's going to be how many times they can juggle somebody before dropping them, using a move repeatedly. You could increase that if you wanted to, be a little mean about it. And then you scroll down, you got sides next. Basic enough. X scale is how wide, Y scale is how tall. You can just play around with it. One thing you should know is that if you are making edits, like I'm just gonna go ahead and boom, boom, for it to take place in the actual game itself, you're gonna want to save it. You got to save it, otherwise, it's not gonna show up. But I never really mess with any of this other size stuff. Usually, if you change the size of a character, their projectiles and stuff like that also kind of auto-align themselves. But I've noticed for some characters they don't, and I guess maybe this would be a way to kind of fix that without going into every animation and realigning the projectile. But I've never messed with anything but the X and Y scale and size. Velocity, again, relatively straightforward. Walk forward, that's 4, whatever. You can see how fast he moves when you test him in the game, and I usually don't increase it too much. If you want him to be really fast, go ahead, play with it, make it 30 and see what happens, or whatever. Walk backwards, same thing, but you're gonna want it negative. Apparently this Ichigo doesn't have a run. Oh, you know what? I think he dashes when you double tap forward and double tap backwards. So that's why the run velocity is 0, because they have their own coding for a dash in there somewhere. Movement, air jump number. Now, what that is just like double jumping. Like if you just want to be able to jump from the ground once and not be able to jump in the air at all, 0. If you want to have a double jump, make it 1. If you want to be able to jump around in the air a bunch of times, go ahead and make it. I'm not sure how high it can go, but I've played with it and made it like 50 before, and you can jump around 50 times before you touch the ground. And then not every character has this, but it's very simple to add. Just go right under movement, and just as you see here in the brackets, type quotes, and then you would do victory 0 equals, and then in quotations, whatever you want it to say, and then that way that'll be the quote that pops up when that character, wins. I assume, I'm not sure how you do a defeat or lose one, or if that even really applies, but so that's that. That's the very, 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 very absolute basics of it. I'm not going to save it. And then to simply, real quick, show you in Fighter Factory, I generally use Classic, but some characters can't open with Classic and whatever, so I have 3 also, and this Ichigo I couldn't get open in Classic, so open Ichigo. Boom. And then see here, we start here. That's just how it loads up. We're in the definitions. So this is just that ichigo.def file right in your character folder. You got your sprites. This is just shows you all the different sprites that are in there. Next over, animations. And that's a pretty simple one. You can do simple edits with these too. That won't really mess anything up most times. See, that's his regular standing. I clicked on this play button here to play it. You got stand, animation number is 0, and then tells you how many frames it is, how many images, 1, 2, 3, and it tells you how long each image is displayed before it moves to the next one. And now this is 10, and I think that looks pretty fine. I mean, Salah's a good creator, so of course it looks pretty fluid. But if you didn't like it, if you thought it looked a little choppy, maybe you could put it to 8. And what the time goes by is ticks. And a tick, I believe I read, is like a sixth of a second or something weird like that. But you just play with it and you can learn it. This button here, apply time to all next frames. So just make sure you do it to the first frame. And then click that. Boom. And then it'll have done it to every frame, and we can play it and see it looks a little tiny bit quicker, a little smoother. Just to show you a more drastic example, go back to frame 1, time 1 tick, play it, boom, 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 boom. Looks stupid, but I'll bring it back to 10. Oh, I gotta go back to the first one. See, that's different in Classic. In Classic, I can be on any of these images and click this button and it applies it to all of them. I just think that's a little more simple, straightforward. But we got, boom, over here to the states. And this is just simply all of the different files that are within your character folder. This is exactly what we were looking at before. Open up the CNS, Ichigo CNS, and you got the data, size, blah, 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 all that. And then pretty much everything else, basic-wise, basic combos and stuff like that, is going to be coded here. If you really wanted to, it's kind of a hassle, honestly, but you could go to the top, could search for hit def, HITDEF, hit def, right here. Find that, and each move will have a hit def, and that's this chunk right here. And within that, you got damage. And this does 10 damage if it hits, and if they block it, we got comma. If they block it, it still does 5 damage. It does a little damage if they block it still. So if you have a character that, you notice does no damage when an opponent is blocking, and you wish they did a tiny bit still, well, that's how you'd fix that. You'd just go to the hit def of all of their moves. There's going to be a bunch of hit defs. And you just add this little comma, and you can just change the numbers to whatever the heck you'd like. Pause time. This first number is your pause time, so like just how many ticks after the attack lands you will pause for just a second. You'll notice a lot of characters kind of do a little slight hesitation, a little pause, like after they land a hit. It adds a little bit of like dramatic effect, a little looks nice usually. But if you wanted them to just be a relentless monster that had no hesitation in their attacks, and you could turn this down and leave this one 10, 8, 12, whatever, just higher than your pause time, and then that way you're guaranteed to be moving before the opponent every time. Just makes them a little more OP. And that's kind of the whole point of this thing, is I'm just kind of showing you how to make a character a little more OP, because a lot of these just style characters are pretty tough. And so from there, if you have Fighter Factory, or even if you don't, this is pretty simple, this next step. I'll show you without Fighter Factory first, because that's how we're doing things. So, if you want a character that has a transformation to transform when they reach half health, you would simply find the... Sorry, I got a little distracted. Transform. Okay. So that is an AI thing, because if you're watching a battle, they're being controlled by their AI. Obviously, you're not controlling them. So instead of going to his Bankai state to make him automatically transform at half health while you're watching a battle, you'd go to the AI. And, sorry. To figure out where you go from there, there's two options. You can... Oh. I don't know if that's going to pick up the sound with my volume down, so I'll explain it first. You can go into Mugen and enter debug mode, which I'm just testing. I'm just entering Mugen through Fighter Factory. It's the same as opening your Mugen and going to practice or whatever, and you can do this in any version of Mugen. And you hit Control D once Mugen is open. It's as simple as that. And you're going to look at the bottom left corner, and there's going to be something that says state number equals. And you just look at what that number is when you do your transformation. And to show you real quick, I'm not sure exactly what his transformation button is, so I'm not going to show you that. I'm just going to show you debug mode real quick. Okay, so if you could see down there in the little left-hand corner, the state numbers changing as I was doing different motions, and the one for the Bankai, we can just go to the Bankai folder, or file, sorry, and then you find Bankai Start, or whatever. A lot of people will copy their transformation code from Goku, so you'll want to find like Super Saiyan 1, or whatever the transformation is called, or it might even just be labeled as transformation. This is why it's best to go into debug mode and then see what the state number for the transformation is. It'll be the number that pops up next to state no when you do the transformation. And so we look here, we got Bankai start, state def 900, animation 900. So we go to AI, and we're going to search 900. And you might find other things, like there could be something in one of these codes that has the number 900 in it, possibly, but I'll show you how to tell the difference. It's very simple. Boom. Okay, perfect. We got, this is what it highlighted. This is what we found. Value equals 900. We go to the top of this code chunk. Bankai. State 0 Bankai. It's best to do it by the state number because people don't always name things correctly, or it might be named something else in a different file, or the names can get confusing. Well, to make the AI automatically transform at half health, we're looking for a couple things. Trigger all equals power, and then whatever comes after that is probably going to be different for most characters, but trigger all equals power. We go ahead and delete that. And again, you can do this just by opening the AI file in Ichigo. Boom. Like, see, this is the same thing we're looking at. Boom, find 900. Brings us to the same thing. Bankai, power. So I'm going to keep doing it in Fighter Factory. I just think it's a little easier to look at. We delete power. And then we find the one that says trigger all P2 body dist. Player 2 body distance is what that is. And we delete that trigger also, because those triggers rely on where you are in relation to a player, and also what your power is. So deleting the power one, basically, I believe what that does is it takes out of the equation the AI actually having to charge up to that certain amount of power. Like, let's just say it takes 2 bars, 2,000 power to transform for this character. Well, that will still apply because we're only deleting it from the AI coding. So when you're playing, you'll still need that two bars to transform. However, when the AI reaches half health, once I finish showing you what I'm showing you, no matter what power they have, they will just transform as soon as they get a second. They will do it. And then you find this trigger 1. The trigger 1 is the one you don't delete it completely. We actually make a change to that. Trigger 1 equals life equals, if you wanted, you could also do life is less than or equal to, but I think it's just safest to do equals because then it's right on the dot what you want it to be. Damn it. Life equals life max. So life equals your full life over 2, just like a fraction. So full health over 2, full health divided by 2, half health. You could do a third, you could do a fourth health. I usually just do half. I was told you should be able to do this with decimals too, but I have not tried that. You could make it more accurate that way, as if using like a percentage instead of a fraction. But yeah, that's that. Every character is going to be a little different, but that is how you would do it for most characters, unless they have a very specific, unique type of transformation coding in their AI. And then from there, I got another nifty little thing that I believe it was Ghost Carti that taught me how to do this. Gave me this code here, and you can play around with the numbers if you want. I never have, just because I don't know exactly what they mean, but it's relatively self-explanatory. So for this is to make a character, when you transform, they go back to full health. Pretty simple. Helps make fights a little more interesting if you have a character that is kind of weak but has a transformation against a character that doesn't have a transformation but is pretty OP. This makes it so the weak character gets a little second chance to come back. So I always do it. You got to make sure you're in the start of your transformation, because we're in the Bankai file here. However, some people won't have the activation of their transformation at the top here. Sometimes this first code will be a punch, and you don't want it to go back to full health every time you throw a punch. You don't want to accidentally put this code in a punch. So make sure it's the start, the activation, which we know is State Def 900, Animation 900, as I explained earlier. And what we're going to add here is this little life add code. Boom. And you can go ahead and write it down and save it in a notepad just like I did. That way you just always have it on hand. You don't got to try to remember what it is. But basically what this is saying, since it's in this section here, this State Def 900, we're doing a life add. The trigger for it is time equals 35 ticks. And I think it's saying like from 35 ticks to 60 ticks. So that in between time there, we will be getting 60 health, 60 life, hit points, whatever you want to call it, per tick, I think is what that's saying. And this occurs very quick. It's like a second and a half to 2 seconds that this is occurring. So it's literally like you're transforming, and as that animation is happening for your transformation, your health's going to go up and be at full by the time you're done transforming. Obviously, you might want to increase that if your character has more health. You know, they might not get all the way to full health, but it at least gets them close. It's a really good base, code for adding life. And if you excuse me, if you want them to gain power, like go back to full power when they transform, that's just as simple. Bankai start. So they don't even have it. So simple. Right underneath all this stuff, power add. See, it turned green, so we know we did it right. Or teal, or whatever you want to call it, because I guess this is more green. Equals 3,000. Because we know his max power is 3,000 from looking at his his CNS, not his common. Power 3,000. So we're telling him when you go Bankai, get 3,000. I think because of certain coding in this commands right here, I believe you still would need the hypothetical 2 bars or whatever, energy it costs for your character's transformation to transform. However, you'll be getting this back once you do it anyway. Yeah, and I guess that's really it. If you have any more specific questions or anything like that, sorry I was a little bit rambly. I've never really made a tutorial video before. But I hope you like it. Feel free to share it with your friends. And let me know if you have any requests.